I don't know about you, but I love words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That, for me, is the ultimate expression of all we can do with words, and of all that we could do. Words are holy. And what truly fascinates me is where words come from, what their roots are, what they're all about. This is why I found it so fitting when John Egerton told me that the word for poet comes from the ancient Greek, poiein, a verb meaning to create. Poetry is a verb. Poetry is an action. It is movement, restless and alive. Poetry unearths emotions, instigates actions, pokes and prods and flows inside of us. Poetry comes from a verb. And a poet is one that takes poiein, creation, as their mission. The poets are God's people. Paul, Timothy, Solomon, and the psalmists, Angelo, Donne, Whitman, and Wheatley, they take God's words into their hands. They prophesy, not because they know the future, but because they create that future. They are the music makers. They are the dreamers of dreams. They listen to the tongues of fire that rest on their shoulders and give them words and ideas that break down the barriers of language itself. How do you do that? How do you create a creator who makes poetry out of the poets? God, you say, the first and greatest of poets, the Word herself. All poems come into being through her, and without her, not one poem comes into being. But I think there's something more. Paul writes to Timothy, poet to poet, let no one despise your youth. Do not neglect the gift that is in you, which was given to you through prophecy with the laying on of hands by the council of elders. Poets to poets. If poetry is a verb, if poetry is movement, then it flows from one being to another. God created us as poets, but we too create each other. Old South, you laid your hands on us when we were infants, first struggling our way into the world. You laid your hands on us when we were baptized, when we were confirmed. You were poets, and we were your poetry. You made a poem of us, and you made us poets. So let no one despise you, but set the young an example in words, in meanings, in love, in faith, in creation. Let your poetry resound. Teach us how to speak and how to listen. Do not neglect the gift that is in you, which was given to you through prophecy with the laying on of hands by the poets that made you. Put your poetry into action. Devote yourself to your words. Continue in these things. For in doing this, you will make poets of both yourself and your hearers.